Osceola Library System. Welcome to our live Medusa program. Follow along if you've picked up one of our activity packs at any one of our libraries. And as a reminder, every week all summer, we're going to explore different fairy tales, and you can pick up your activity packs with supplies and instructions at any of our Osceola Library branches the week prior. Now, so we know how many of you are watching with us today, please put that number in the chat or comments box below. And now introducing Mr. Jonathan.
Hi, snake fans! So today we are going to be reading a Greek myth. Now the ancient Greeks believed in a pantheon of gods. They believed that there were lots of gods and goddesses, and they each had certain duties, like Aphrodite was the goddess of love, and then Athena was the goddess of wisdom, and Ares was the god of war. So today we are going to be reading about Medusa. And Medusa wasn't a goddess, she was a monster. And her story starts with Perseus, who was a prince. So here we go, you ready? Perseus was sent by the king to slay the monster Medusa and bring back her head. No man who had ever set out to kill Medusa had come back. Medusa was one of 3 horrible Gorgon sisters, so gruesome that all living creatures turned to stone at the sight of them. They lived on an island far out to sea, but no one knew just where. Perseus went overland and oversea asking his way, but nobody could tell him where the Gorgons lived. Then Athena, the goddess of wisdom, and Hermes, the god of thieves, appeared to him. Athena lent him her shield, polished as brightly as a mirror, and Hermes lent him his, look what I got, a sword! So Hermes lent him his sword, which could cut through the hardest metal. They told Perseus that he would also need 3 magic things that were owned by the nymphs of the north. But only the 3 gray sisters knew where they lived. They would never willingly tell Perseus how to find the nymphs because the 3 gray sisters were also Medusa's sisters, right? You wouldn't betray your sister. Hermes took Perseus under his arm and flew him to where the Gray Sisters lived, in a land where the sun never shone and everything was as gray as dusk. And the 3 Gray Sisters sat there. Their hair was gray, their skin was gray, and they only had 1 eyeball between them, which they took turns looking through. And so if they wanted to see, they would have to say, "Sister, give me the eye." Isn't that creepy? So Perseus wanted to ask them where to find the nymphs of the north. So as one sister was handing the eye to the other, Perseus sprang forward and he snatched it. And they said, "Where is our eye?" And Perseus said, "Now I have your eye, and you will never get it back unless you tell me the way to the nymphs of the north." The 3 Gray Sisters wailed and begged for their eye, but Perseus would not give him back, and so they had to tell him the way. Hermes flew Perseus far, far to the north, the way the Gray Sisters had told Perseus to go, and beyond the north wind where the sun never set. The nymphs of the north received him kindly, and when they heard why Perseus had come, they gladly gave him the 3 things he needed. He needed a winged pair of sandals to carry him so he could fly, and he needed a magic cap that would make him invisible, and a magic bag that would hold whatever he put into it. And now he was ready to slay Medusa. Hermes showed him the way to the Gorgon sisters, and he wished him good luck. And wearing his winged sandals, Perseus flew far to the west. When he came to the island of the Gorgons, he did not look down. Remember, because if you look at them, what happens to you? You turn to stone, so you can't look at them, right? So instead, he looked into Athena's polished shield. He was using it as a mirror, right? And he shuddered at the sight that he saw there. For there were the 3 Gorgon sisters lying on the shore, fast asleep. And they had long yellow teeth. And their heads were writhing with snakes. Kind of like this Medusa that my friend Karen made for me. See her snakes? Ooh, she's so creepy. So they were very scary, and their necks were covered in scales made out of bronze. And around them stood the strangest stones. And it was easy to see that these weren't statues. They had been people that had turned to stone by looking at Medusa and her ugly sisters. So looking into the mirrored shield, Perseus swooped down and with one deft stroke, whoosh, he cut off Medusa's head. And he put it into the bag, the magic bag that the nymphs had given him. And he flew up, and the other two Gorgons woke up, and they were very angry. So quickly, Perseus threw Medusa's head into the bag. He flew far up into the air, and wailing, the two Gorgon sisters took to the air on heavy wings in groping pursuit, but they could not find him, for he had put on the magic cap of invisibility. Now, I'd love to tell you that's the end of Perseus' story, but it's not. Perseus had many adventures, and his story goes on from there, and it is very exciting. If you want to find out about it, this is Delaire's Book of Greek Myths. It's one of my favorites from when I was little. And we also have some other books that are at the library that I can show you. Let's see what we've got that you can come check out. So we have this book on monsters in Greek mythology. Greek mythology is very creepy. There's cyclopses, there's monsters that make giant whirlpools that suck whole ships down into them. And then here is a book on the heroes of Greek mythology, like Perseus. And then, if you really like mythology, another one to look into is Norse mythology. So you can find out about Thor and Loki. So you can come check these out at the library. But today, we are going to make that silly hat that Miss Sarah was wearing in the beginning, right? So if you picked up your activity pack, you have some construction paper, and we have some pipe cleaners, and all you will need is some tape, some scissors, and Sharpies. Ready? So first, we're going to take our one yellow piece of construction paper, and we're going to fold it the long ways. Now you can fold either hamburger or hot dog, right? So we're folding hot dog. So long ways. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to cut a zigzag kind of down that middle. Now if you're worried about it and you want it to be exact, then you can draw the zigzag, but I'm not that worried about it. So I just fold it and use that as my guide. Doop. Here we go. Boop. And then I can tape these end to end. And I should have a little crown. Let's do it. All right. Got that taped. And while I have the tape out, and while this is flat, I'm going to draw too. So I'll face it towards you. Ready? Here we go. We'll draw a little heart. Here's my, ooh, and a little diamond. And a little heart over here. And a little diamond. So I've got my jewels on my crown. How fabulous. And I'll take it. I'll fit it to my head. Oh, that's a little big. All right. And once I'm ready, I'll put the other piece of tape on. And ta-da! Now, do I look like Medusa? No, right? I'm missing some snakes, right? I'm missing some snakes. So let's see. I'm going to take my green construction paper. And we have 5 pipe cleaners, so we can try and make 5 snakes, okay? So first, I'll take a marker, and I'm going to try and get 2 or 3 snakes out of this green piece of paper, because we have 2 pieces of green paper in our kit. So here we go. I'll draw a line, and then I'll draw the other side. Whoop! And I've got a little snake head. Whoa! So creepy. And then I'll draw the other side. So I'll draw 2, and draw the other side. They don't have to be perfect, because they're going on a hat. But I bet yours will be way prettier than mine. If you wanted, you could even draw the little snake eyes. Oh, and then when we cut them out, it should look like this, right here. So we've got our 2 snakes, and I'll show you how you put it together. We won't do the whole thing. We'll just have Miss Sarah come out and model it. All right, here we go. We've got our pipe cleaner, and I'm going to wrap it around my finger a little bit, just so that it's not perfectly straight. And I'll do the other one too. There we go. And I'll take a piece of tape, and I'll tape it to the inside of my crown. Here we go. And I can take my pipe cleaner and tape that to the inside of the crown too, on the back of the snake. And then I'll find his little snake head and I'll tape it to the other side of the pipe cleaner. Oop, there we go. See, like that. And then I can bend it if I want so that it kind of hangs over the edge of the crown. And then once you've done all 5,
don't I look fabulous?
oh my gosh, is this Medusa? How am I looking right at you? Oh no! Thank you for modeling. You're ready. You could go out, right? You could go to dinner in this. Absolutely fabulous. Bye. All right, and we have a second activity that comes with your kit too, because the Greeks were famous for a lot of things. The Greeks were famous for their architecture, they were famous for their religion, they were famous warriors, and then they were also artists. So they did things like they made mosaics, they did frescoes, and they were famous for their pottery, right? They were famous for their pottery. So, Greek pottery was made using clay, and this clay, when baked, turned a red color. And their pottery was used for things like storing food or eating and drinking out of, or it could be made to use urns. It could be used to make urns, and when someone would die, they would cremate them, which means they would burn the body, and then they would store the ashes inside the urn. And originally, the decor for these pottery designs were very simple. It would have been just straight lines and grooves or dots. But as time went by, it became more intricate, and they had more geometric shapes or zigzag patterns. And then, as artists got more skilled, it became really complicated. And you'll see vases and urns with figures. And usually, those vases and urns tell stories like famous gods and goddesses and all of their escapades, because Greek gods and goddesses were not like most of our religion's gods and goddesses. They were usually up to all kinds of no good stuff. They were very jealous and waging war on one another and tricking one another. And so there were lots of cool things to paint on some of the pottery as well. So you might look at it and wonder how they got the black marks on there. They would actually mix some of the black paint with the wet clay, and they would paint their design on the urn, and then they would put it in the kiln, which is a very hot oven you use to bake pottery. And so if they wanted it to kind of look like this, then they would paint their design in black. But then you might also see Greek pottery that's mostly black, and the figures are this kind of red clay color. And that's because they painted everything but the figures to have the reverse, just to make those figures kind of pop out, a different flavor, right? So you have a little clay pot that you got with your activity kit. If you don't, you can get these at Home Depot. You can even get yours to be a larger size, and all you need is a Sharpie. And the way I did mine, if you're a very good artist, maybe you'll do figures and like draw you and your sister or something, but I just did geometric shapes because I'm not really that good of an artist. But I drew some waves, and then I drew some zigzag patterns up here, and I looked up some actual ancient Greek pottery just to have some inspiration for some of the designs. So don't forget to pick up your activity packs for next week's activity.